welcome to welcome to Girl Chat. I am so excited about this month. It is my favorite month of the year. Many of you know why. It is my anniversary month. It is also the beginning of fall, which is my absolute favorite season. So I'm very, very, very excited about this month. Chat. So if you have not guessed already who my guest is for September's Girl Chat, it is Robbie. What's that?
Hi everyone. How y'all doing? It's late and we're just a little bit punchy, so
just a little bit.
We'll edit this. Maybe.
I don't know. It's fine. They're used to this. This is totally fine. So if you guys have not guessed, Robbie is my husband, and this is our special anniversary episode. We have one every year where we come and we chat about things that we've learned in our marriage this past year, things or areas where we're growing, and some things that we believe that we've perfected, right? And so it's kind of just not a tell-all, but a kind of dishing session. Does that make sense? Is that kind of what we're gonna do?
I hope so.
Okay.
That's what you said we're gonna do. So.
That's what I said. Okay. So this is going to be our 9th anniversary on September 29th. Wow, that went really fast. That went really, really fast. And so to kind of keep us on topic and to kind of direct our conversation, because we can just get to talking, as you can see, or laughing and not being serious at all. We have some questions that we're gonna ask each other and kind of you guys are gonna get our answers as we're asking them. We have not practiced this, so we've not done anything. So it's gonna be interesting.
It should be.
Do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the first question that I have, this one's good. What is your favorite memory from this year?
Oh,
So not necessarily like 2021, but you know, this year of marriage.
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, are you going to use the baby? Because I would say the baby.
Use the baby.
Okay.
So that we'll do that
Okay.
together. So that'll be our shared favorite memory.
Yeah, I would say that would be the memory. That was obviously shortly after our last anniversary. She arrived, and so that's been really consumed a large portion this year.
Yes. So the baby is Evie girl.
I should look at the camera shit now.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's been a big part of our year. Everly arriving has you know, they say when you get 3, you got to play zone, and I think we have been playing a lot of zone of late.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it has been an adjustment, I would say.
I agree. I think that that's one of the best things about it being our shared favorite memory. Again, we didn't know what the other person was gonna choose, but I think that it is my favorite memory because it showed us how well we can stretch. Like we're pretty flexible. We've done a lot of things together. A lot of things together, right? Like building ministries, working, 2 children, our home, as individuals growing and navigating. But adding that 3rd child and adding her through adoption has really shown me how well we can stretch and how much we actually trust God to provide. I would say that because we've always known that we wanted to adopt, but once you actually get into that process, it's different.
Yeah, I mean it's very much like having a baby. You know, no one tells you know as much as you can get. You know, reps at it with other people's kids or nieces, nephews, and such. There's no prep for sleeping an hour at a time.
No, no,
nothing like that.
Not.
So there's no prep for. There's just no prep for it, and no one in the right. I thought I was prepping for this one for Everly. So I went through for like a week of like sleep training, where I went from like 6 hours down to no hours during the week, and I was like, oh, I got this. But I forgot that that was planned. Yes. Right, and babies don't go according to plan. Yeah. So that was another like learning experience. So like a whole week of sleep just wasted. But yeah, I mean, but it was a great whole week missing of sleep. But it was a great. I think just over the course of the year, it's been really different. Obviously, new baby, girl, tons of adjustments. You know, just like the boys, like they each have their own thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, she has her thing.
Yeah, and on top of it, COVID and everything like that. So she's the pandemic baby. So having to be acclimated to always being in the house or not having her around a lot of people, a lot of things that we did to kind of celebrate the boys, we haven't been able to do with her. So we're very excited about her first birthday coming up next month. To finally have that opportunity to kind of celebrate her. But even then, it's still not the same, right? Because there's still things that are happening outside that we have no control over. But again, I think that it being our favorite memory, to me, is largely because it showed me how well we can stretch. For sure.
Yeah. I think from my point of view, it's maybe not so much stretching, but I use the word adapting because a lot of adapting just through COVID, through things that were happening in the house as a result of COVID. If you've been following, you've probably seen those videos.
Yeah.
And the entire process of adoption is not so much. It's just not the same as. It's not the same.
No.
There was nothing we didn't have previous experience, so all of that was new. Having her here was new. Formula was new.
Yeah, that was.
There's a lot of little different things we had to adjust to and adapt to. Where like some of the previous reps just you had to throw out the window. Previous mindsets throw out the window because totally different scenario.
Completely different scenario, and then throwing in the bonding. Is really even though for me it was absolutely immediate. I knew that she was my baby. No problems there, but it is still a bonding experience because I didn't carry her. And I don't want to get get too much in it because we're gonna have an episode all about Evie soon. So
gotcha.
I want to, but that is, I'm excited that was our favorite memory together. So do you want to take the next one, or you want me to do the next one?
You can do the next one. I'll get the third.
Okay, so let's see. What have you learned from your spouse, as in me, in the past 12 months?
I'll edit this in case this goes poorly. But I will say, part of the pandemic, I think, so I work from home and so I don't leave the house for work. Petrons leave the house a lot more, well, would leave the house all the time for work. And I think what I learned is that some of the things that she was doing, I had kind of not had to worry about. Right? So she would take the boys to school.
Yeah.
Pick them up because it made more sense because she was already out. Those kind of things. So I learned just kind of maybe, and I had an awareness of this, but I think I learned just how much that was maybe stacking on top of your workload, which was, again, something I appreciated, but then, you get to see kind of the depths of it. And then also, again, because of all the things we had over the past year to kind of start to adapt to, I appreciated, I learned about just how much patience Petra has, probably mostly with me. But again, we had a lot of activity. The boys were home a lot more than they used to be, even though they did go back to school.
Right.
But again, it's still an adjustment with all the things going on around us. Obviously, we got to bond a lot more as a family. I think. Even that had kind of its like get out my space type situations that came up just because we spent so much time together. But I did appreciate. I think I learned that my wife is very patient, probably more patient than some of the saints that could be named. So I appreciate that because, again, my world didn't really change that much from the pandemic. Her world shifted, but she adapted like a champ.
Aw, that's sweet. You're not in trouble for that. I thought what you were going to say is what you learned about me is that I eat out a lot. That you didn't realize how much I was eating out a lot.
Oh, no,
which I didn't do once I was home, but I did eat out more than he saw, than he knew, I guess.
No, I always know how much is going on around that area.
Okay, that's fine. It's fine.
You should see the console in the truck. There's just receipts. They're just like.
Don't do too much.
No?
No.
Okay.
So I would say
burn the receipts.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what's gonna happen.
That's what I would do next time if I were you. Hide the receipts. Keep them in your wallet. Go ahead. What did you learn about me?
What I have learned about my husband,
let me see,
is that his humor is incredibly nuanced. If you guys did not just catch that, all that he was just throwing out there. Yes. No, but you know what? I'm gonna be good though. So I would say that what I have learned from my husband in the past 12 months is that it's okay to pull back. It's okay to say no. It's okay to value me, because it was a very big shift for me, I think, more so than Rob. Like he was saying, like he's used to being home, he's used to kind of being siloed a little bit. I am not used to that at all, and so I had to recalibrate, and so some things were very difficult for me, and some things I was saying yes to that I didn't need to say yes to. And so Rob was very much so, just don't do it. Just, if you need space or if you need time to think about something, then just say that. You don't have to do because someone's asking you. You don't have to be available because someone expects for you to be available, because you're just not in that headspace right now. Like you're trying to figure things out, and that was a difficult thing for me to learn, because I'm very much so used to saying yes. Like I will be available, I will be on site, I will do whatever it is that you need me to do. I want to be that person, that friend, that daughter, that wife. Like I just want to be that. But in this past 12 months, I think I have really learned from Rob how to value myself in my personal time, and just, it's okay to choose me. It's okay, which is interesting when you think about marriage, because it's usually the two of you. Which of course, obviously it is the two of us, but I think in this past year, I think we've learned to work well together, but also we have really supported each other's independence. I would say that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, especially if that's a compliment from me, I would hardly agree.
It's definitely a compliment for you. It's definitely a compliment for you. But it's been a thing. I think even with Evie, like he's been able to tap in more because I'm not nursing. I'm not doing all those things.
That's been probably, we didn't talk about that, because I never had to like put a baby to sleep.
Yeah.
And I was a little taxed. That was a bit of a stretch there too, because usually you just, is your mama.
Right.
All right. Now it was like, oh, you can feed him. I was like, all right.
Right.
It's not working. Right. So that was a huge learning experience, and even to this day, I still put her to sleep better than Petra does. It's true. It's true. Go ahead. Come on, co-sign.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah, there we go. But I had practice. I'm terrible at putting the boys to sleep, to be perfectly honest. So, there you go.
Yeah. But I do. I think that there has been a lot of opportunities for us to grow as a couple, as friends, as partners, but also really being supportive of each other as individuals and what we have going on. Because I think that this year I've really tapped into what I believe that God is calling me to do, and where I believe that I'm supposed to be going. And there was a season where I wasn't sure if Robbie was super supportive. Like I was like, do you care what I'm doing? Like, what are we doing here? But I think that this year I was able to really see like how tapped in he was and how serious he was about helping me to elevate into that, but also letting me do it. Like, this is your thing, so how you want to do it is how I'm going to support you, not the version of what I want you to do. That's what I support, but what you believe is for you, that's what I'm supporting. So I think that was really key for me, for sure. You gonna do number 3?
Yeah, I'll do number 3. All right, so question, Petra.
Okay.
If you could relive any day from the past year, what day would it be? I know, out of 365, that's a lot of days to look at.
That's a lot of days. What day would I relive? I don't know. We've had some really, really good days. So that's interesting. What day would I relive?
your questions. I don't know which day would you relive. Now, when we should go month by month to break it down. So let's say if anniversary is September, a couple days after that, October. Maybe you should pick the best day from each month and then compare them all.
Oh, that's hard too, but okay.
Okay, October.
I would, you know what? But okay. With that in mind, I would say like probably one of the best days was Evie becoming official.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I would say that's probably because I mean it was a lot of months of worry and like okay, it's gonna happen like especially with COVID because a lot of things were delayed, and so. You know, we're bonding with her, we're doing all these things, we're building a happy home and all this, but in the back of our minds, she's the last piece. Like she's it, and making that official. And I think it was really important to me, not just one, because my baby was going to be officially a Pindar, but because Evie is our only planned child. Like we talked about adoption when we were dating.
Right.
We were not sure if I would be able to carry children. So our only planned child is Evie. And so to kind of see and to be waiting on the fruition of these dreams and these plans and these prayers, I think finally in that moment of it coming together, it felt like when we were dating, like when we were sitting there at dinner that night and just writing down all of our goals, our 5-year goals, our 10-year goals, and realizing like we've actually achieved every last one. Like the day she became official, we achieved everything on that list. I don't think there's anything left on the list that we haven't done.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
I think she was literally the last thing from our dating list.
Yeah. From that list for sure.
You know what I mean? Like I think like because I remember our date that time that we had, and we were sitting there, we were making our list, and we were writing, okay, this is our 5-year plan, this is our 10-year plan. Mm-hmm. This is where we want to be in our marriage. Like these are how we want to structure things, and literally I think that the adoption was the last thing that was left. And the day that she became official, to me it was like we've hit everything on the list in less than 9 years of marriage, because of course at that point it wasn't close to the 9.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So for me, I think that was special because I was like, we've put in a lot of work, but we've also had a really good time together.
Yeah. Hope so.
We have, but I mean that's something to say. Like everything on your list has been ticked off.
New list. I mean, we got another list. We have other lists. That was like the first list.
We're a list couple.
Yeah.
We're a list couple, but that was our very first list.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was our first list for sure.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Okay. Best day. That was a good one. I actually did not even have that registering on my list. It probably didn't impact me the same way because I was like, we're fine. It's going to go through.
Yeah.
I wasn't concerned about everything coming to fruition.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it wasn't. I mean, again, when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, duh.
Right.
But it wasn't as emotional a day.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that it. Partly because I expected it to happen. Mm-hmm. And yes, I very much expected it to happen. Probably if I had to pick another day, so maybe a couple. So I think the day that she came home, because that was a pretty long day, somewhat unreasonably long it felt, because there was this somewhat of the expectation that it was going to go quickly. And it was kind of, and again, we planned, we dotted our I's, crossed our T's, all that stuff was supposed to go quickly. It didn't go slowly.
Yeah.
But it didn't go as quickly as we thought.
Not even close.
It would.
Not even close.
In between like things like hunger and and not having information readily, I think that was,
and not wanting to leave, because if we didn't know if we left the site if something would happen, so we were kind of stuck. If that makes sense.
So there's a lot of things going on that day, but it was kind of it was joyfully quiet in a way, right? Because we just kind of came home.
Yeah. The
new baby, and it was like.
The boys weren't even here when we got home.
Yeah, the boys weren't here, and they got there later that. Did they come the same? They came the same day. They came back later that evening. So yeah, it was just a really remarkable day. Now, so that was kind of the most joyful day, but it was like it was like, because the day was so long, it was like something in a crock pot, right? It took a while, but when you finally got to bite into it, it was like, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
Oh my God. Yeah. I can see that.
Now, the second day that I can recall that was very joyful had to be when the boys went back to school. I mean, it was a madhouse, and I guess that happened before. Are we back?
Are we back? That was funny. I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
Okay.
Any case, so the boys went back to school. I know that was a little before this, but again, that was a joyful day because it started to return things to normal.
Yeah.
Which I think was important for our household, to get things back to normal. And again, I think now we understand how to maneuver, kind of in this COVID world as it stands. But that was a kind of a fun day for the house to be like,
bye.
But those kind of, it was, but what was important about that day is that the boys, it was important for them to get back to normalcy, because, for adults to deal with something that's like this, and they were just constantly asking, hey, I want to see my friends, I want to do this, I want to do that, and the only answer we could give them was no. Right. We didn't have a timeline. We have ETA. We couldn't give them any future guidance.
Sure.
And so I think that helped a lot start to kind of restabilize the family. And then once Everly came in, I think that just was like that kind of just topped everything off.
It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect because they were also waiting for her, because we prayed every night about the child that God would send, and so I think that it all kind of came together, and to come home from school one day, and for the baby to be here, I think they would say it was probably a big deal for them.
And they've been great too, so that's always a good thing.
I agree. Okay. What about, let's see, how have your feelings changed in this year together?
How have my feelings changed?
Yeah. So this is year 9, right?
My what?
This is year 9.
Year 9.
We've been together for a minute. So
I think this was like the year of maybe you can call it the year of appreciation. Again, a lot of this has to do with the impact of being in the house so much more, being together and around each other so much more. I was used to just having the run of the house, a ton of privacy and all that, because I would just work, and then people would come home and I would stop work, mostly, right? Yeah. And so it was very simple. It was a much simpler life in a for me, in certain ways, right? I'm sure you coming home kind of, even though it may have destabilized your ability to go out, it actually simplified certain aspects of being in. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So from the standpoint of just being appreciative, you had to learn to appreciate all the little things that you could get during this time. So, I mean, we had to learn to, it seems like, there's so many little things that we had to learn to appreciate. The boys' weird senses of humor at times, them constantly coming in while I was working and disrupting things, which was fine, which was perfectly fine. It's, that was the new normal.
Right.
Sometimes that can kind of start off with being like, hey, stop doing that. But after a while, you just learn to appreciate, hey, it's good that they even care to come see me, right? So you just start to appreciate those things, and then obviously you start to appreciate, or I start to appreciate, the fact that I did have my family around. Like, I had more kind of control over their security in a way, because they were in the house. If something was going to happen, I was there, I was around. It wasn't like I couldn't get to them if something was occurring. So I appreciated this kind of the aspects of having them close, more so than they were, at any other time really throughout the past 9 years. And then And actually, you know, I took to just like, and I usually cook anyway, but I was like, I'll take care of all the meals because everyone's home, and it just seemed like it was a natural thing to kind of flow into. You know, Petra took care of pretty much everything else. So I think we kind of found a good balance to be successful during this time. Mm-hmm. But again, just a lot of appreciation for how we were transitioning, going through everything we were going through. So, I mean, between COVID, between the baby, between all the adjustments that we were having at, you know, in church, at work, you know, significant shifts between how much time we had to communicate with others, and then just having, okay, we got to work with others at the same time as, you know, focus on ourselves and our family, and trying to find that balance, which is, I think that balance is on a seesaw, right? It's rarely 50-50. Some days you're just like, hey, look, you know, Petra may have to get more time over here, and that's just what it is. And you work through that and you accept that, so you learn to appreciate that you have a spouse that can be flexible and can adapt to different situations, and a family that has learned to adapt to a lot of varying situations. So I would say for me, that would be, I would say, appreciation is the feeling that which is hard for me to get to sometimes, because I'm not always good with my feelings, identifying them, but I think it's appreciation for me this year.
Okay, so I would probably answer from like the flip side. So he kind of did like the big feelings, and so for me, when it comes to how my feelings are different this year or after this year, during this year, as far as like marriage goes.
First time hearing this, just so y'all know, so I'm focused.
Is I would actually say that for me, the way that my feelings have shifted or changed or morphed or whatever, however you guys want to word it, is this understanding that growth is intentional. Like, it doesn't just happen. Like, Robert and I are really good together. Like, we communicated, like, when we were dating, like, all the things that we wanted, how we're going to do things, this is how we're going to treat each other, like, this is what we want our marriage to look like, all these things. Robert and I are very close. I mean, we could be together all day, every day, and be fine. Like, we're not those couples that hate being around each other. Like, that's not a thing. But when it comes to actual growth in your relationship, not just being comfortable, it has to be intentional. And I think that was something that we learned, because we were, of course, as many of you, we're spending a lot of time together, which is easy for us. So we're comfortable with that. But he and I had to carve out space for us, even if it was just in our home and we have 3 children running around. Like, even if that meant staying up a little bit later, or, you know, messaging each other a little bit more, or connecting in the mornings, you know, whatever it needed to be. I realized that for our relationship to grow and to continue to be healthy, then we had to be intentional about it. So I would say that's how my feelings have shifted, because for me, I was very good with comfortable. I was like, we have a really good relationship. Like, we don't argue, we don't fight, we don't do none of that. Like, that's just not our testimony. But I realized in this past year that was also just us being super comfortable. Like, we didn't have any, if someone asked us like, oh, what's the most exciting thing you've done, or what do you love about this, or I don't know what we would have said. I think we'd have been like, we good. Which is not a bad thing. Like, we enjoy each other, we love each other, we have a great relationship, we respect each other, we talk, like, all of those things. But I realized that this year I didn't want comfortable, I wanted great. And I think that showed me that I needed to be more intentional. So coming to him when I felt certain things, or I had concerns, or also I was really excited about something, including him in some of my plans, because again, we are very much so doers. So we get a plan, we work the plan, we do the plan. Like, that's just what we do. And it's easy for us to kind of just work alongside each other, not necessarily together on certain projects, because we just get things done. But I realized that I wanted us to be more connected, and so I wanted to be intentional about that. So for me, I would say my feelings have shifted in that way. I would say that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to put my finger on the pulse until you said that. But I mean, I guess it does make sense. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Very intentional.
Very, very intentional. Because we have a very good relationship, but I think that this year we were like.
Oh, this year was probably the most work year. Again, just so much stuff was happening, and you had to adjust with all that was happening. We had to make a lot of adjustments. So again, you think about like, hey, you're in a plane and you're flying, and you're like, hey, we're doing fine at 24,000 feet, right? Clear skies, and all of a sudden you start hitting a little bit of turbulence. It's not a bad thing. It's just that's what you're running into necessarily, and so. Hey, we got to go up another 3,000 feet to get above that. So it took that kind of work to say, okay, it's gonna take a little more fuel, a little more fuel on the fire, a few more late nights to get there, and definitely make a lot more conversations, because these don't happen like an airplane. Just you don't do up a few thousand feet.
No,
right?
You're not just jumping up.
You got to kind of learn some additional things about your spouse. Again, I'm not good at putting my finger on like what it is per se. I'm more of I sense what it is, that there's something amiss, and try to work through it. Petra's much better at pinpointing those things specifically. So I think we both became better listeners. Better, probably not great in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
But better, and so that has I think propelled us forward over the course of the year, and I think it'll take us to whatever the next step is, to the next challenge that we have to face. But again, as with everything else, it's something we do together, regardless of how challenging or what it is. We're doers, like Petra said, so we're going to get it done.
Yeah. I think so. I think we are well matched in that way.
Yeah.
I never question about if Robbie and I are gonna go the distance. That's never a question. Because when I really say that we don't argue, we don't fuss and fight, we don't do none of that. But I think that we do contend
with ideas, right? Yeah. So we're like, okay, how do we do this, right?
Yeah.
Not what are we going to do,
but how?
So much, but how do we get there? What's the path look like? And so, I respect her, and her intellect and her experiences and everything that she brings. I'm sure she would say the same thing back. Of course.
I've told them that 1,000 times.
There you go. I haven't watched all the videos through. But that being said, again, there's nothing wrong with contending over ideas and wrestling with how can we go from two people's ideas to one, two people's good ideas to one great idea together, right? Because there's things she sees that I can't see. There's things that I see that that she may not see,
right? And
so we're trying to always find what's the right balance for for our marriage, for our kids, for our careers, for our future. All those things are vital. But I think we spent a lot more time this year wrestling with how to move forward, as the world did. But I think we kind of took that in our house and said, we're going to move forward this way. And I think we locked in and got that.
Right. And I think they were definitely saying the same thing. I just, you know how I am about like certain words. Like when I hear wrestling or tussling,
I'm sorry.
For me, it's like, but that ain't.
So, yeah.
But I think that you're right though. Yeah. I think it is like okay, let's come to the table and let's really work through whatever this is so we can get to the great thing.
It absolutely is not a negative thing.
Right.
Like think about kids wrestling. Like it's one of those things that they're that's how they are, right? They have to get that energy out, and this is how we would go about. Like we got to have a meeting of the minds and exchange of ideas.
Right.
That's better, right?
Yes, yes. That's good.
And so, in that sense, we had to put our cards on the table, and then figure out which ideas we're going to morph into something greater, and which ones had to be tossed into the trash, and so on.
I agree. I think the ones that got tossed in the trash was me getting a nose ring, guys.
Go figure.
So if you wonder if we talk about everything, the answer is yes.
To be honest, it wasn't entirely off the table. It's the way it was brought up.
Okay, wait. Let's put a pin in that. What you mean?
You need to come out and you got to work your way into like a nose ring.
I've been asking for forever.
It's not about asking for forever. You have to say little things like, oh, that's cute, and you got to subliminally work that thing. You can't just be like, I want to get a nose ring. That's way too aggressive. That's way too
Was it or was it not cute, y'all? When I had the little fake like little hoop, wasn't it cute?
So here's what's funny. I didn't think it wasn't. However,
let me find out you was turned on. Okay.
However, that's a stretch. But that being said, significant change. They were just like, hey, I want a nose ring. See. Moving right along. What's the next question?
So I think let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. So the very last question is, what is something you've done that has worked and really made a difference in your marriage that you would give as advice to be successful to others on their wedding day?
On their wedding day? Oh.
Yeah. Or you know what? Even if it's not on their wedding day, like even if you've been married and you're just wanting some good advice, what's something that we've done that has worked and really made a difference in our marriage?
I think if you had to say before your wedding day, it would be, again, put everything out there. This is a joint mission. That you're in a joint endeavor. This isn't a two individuals. This is two people becoming one and going somewhere together and figuring out how to get to and achieve those goals together. You cannot win as individuals. You have to win as a couple. And then taking those same lessons and further expanding upon that in a marriage, because then you're going to start to very likely add additional little people to that mix. You're going to add other relationships potentially to that mix. You're going to have gotten rid of some other relationships, maybe not necessarily a bad thing, but just because you have to focus more time here. So if you're going to be doing all that, you got to make sure that, hey, we're heading in the same direction. You got to have checkpoints and milestones and rest stops along the way to make sure to check in, hey, refuel here. Here's where we want to stay in the hotel and kind of regroup, get some rest. I think those things, I would say, for anyone, that would be the way to approach it. Obviously, all this in the context of, a spirit-filled marriage and focusing on those things. But that should be part of the goal, right? That should be one of the goals. Like, here's how we get here through this path. Here's how we're going to grow, in God. Here's how we're going to teach our children, and so on. All that's critical, because if you don't have that communication and you don't have that shared vision of where you're going,
right,
there's going to be a lot more turbulence, but it's going to be in the plane as opposed to outside the plane. And we've found a way. Listen, we've always been okay with dealing with turbulence outside, but the challenge when you have turbulence inside, it becomes a lot harder, because then you've got things inside you got to wrestle with. I think wrestle's a fair word.
I think that's a good word. Yeah.
All right, just checking.
Yeah.
And then you got to really watch out, because that's when things from the outside can become a real big problem.
For sure.
So that would be my marriage recommendation.
Okay. All right. So I would say that mine would probably be give the grace you want to receive. So there's going to be ebbs and flows on each side. There's going to be ebbs and flows as a couple and as individuals, right? And you're each having to navigate your own evolution as well as the elevation of your relationship, right? And so there's going to be seasons where you're feeling like you're pulling the other person along and vice versa, but always give the grace you want to receive, because they may not be where you are. They may need a little bit of time to ramp up. I know that, again, like for me, especially like last year, it was very hard. It was a very quiet season for me. It was a very unsettling season for me. And Robert had to extend a lot of grace to me as I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I doing? Do I have purpose? Am I worth it? Do I have value? What is my life going to look like if this continues, right? And so And then there have been other seasons where I've had to do the same thing for him, like extending him grace as he's navigating job choices or relationship things, like with friends, like whatever that is. But always give the grace that you want to receive. If you know that you're human and there's going to be some things that you are going to be tight about, right? Don't lash out. Don't be that person that projects all the time. And you're human. You're going to do it sometimes. But always be willing to rein it back in, because you always want to give the grace that you want to receive, because your turn will come. There will be a season where you're the one in the back and not the front. And remember that this is a partnership, right? And so neither of you is better than the other, but you're best together.
Right.
You're best together. And so always having that type of mentality and posture.
You're nothing apart.
No, nothing. Right? No.
You're all you can be is together.
Right.
Right. So you're best, because outside of that,
there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Right. And when we're talking about covenant marriage, like,
yeah.
So
yes.
We ain't talking about nothing else, but we're talking about literally covenant marriage, and what you have chosen to do is to come together as one, right? It's not two. Yes, you're individuals. Yes, you have your own evolutions. But when it comes down to it, you are best together. And so how do you do that? How do you navigate that? And a lot of that has to do with grace. It really, really does, because you're human. You're an individual, but you're coming together for a common goal of, like Robbie said, a spirit-filled marriage and relationship. And to do that, you have to die to self. But you also have to extend the grace to the other person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of compromise, lots of it's late right now. I mean, lots of good late nights. But it's worth it. It's what I kind of heard Petra say too is Petra's more focused to a certain degree. She does a lot of the detail oriented stuff. And I do a lot of the projecting. So I've always got like rose-colored glasses in the projection in certain ways, and she's like, "Well, you don't have enough gas." I'm like, "Go." It's very possible we don't have enough gas to get there the way we need to. So she helps us find those rest stops, and those what meals we need to eat, how we need to be fueling ourselves to make sure we're successful.
I'm definitely thankful. I think that marrying you is definitely my best decision.
At least second.
Yeah, after Christ, accepting Christ. Yeah. But on this side of heaven, he's the best decision. And I think that if you're thinking about getting married, if you are married, if you're praying about that thing, make sure that the person that you're considering is your safe space. But also that if you know it's going to get tough, because it will, there's going to be seasons, right, that they are still going to be your best decision, right? It's not about emotions or feelings. It's, I made the right decision.
Yeah. And that decision is made, right? Like, we made that decision well before we got married.
Yep.
Right? About how we're going to do it, And again, not everyone has that opportunity, but as much as you can, wherever you are, pause and decide how you're going to move forward. That was incredibly valuable for us, because we had, I mean, like Petra said, everything we'd already discussed. Like, there's been nothing really new in our marriage, in our lives, in our horizon. So obviously, favor God is blessed, but also, we went to Him first to say, hey, here's where we want to go. Here's where we see you leading us. And we've stayed the course.
We stayed the course. And you guys can do it too. Again, like, even if you're already married and there's things that you're like, I didn't have that opportunity in the beginning, or that's not how we started. Like Robbie said, decide today, like, how you're going to move forward, what that's going to look like, and be intentional about that growth, right? Even if that means that the other person is behind you right now, they're not necessarily running neck and neck with you. Extend the grace that we talked about, but also be really, really intentional about forward-facing and trusting God in the process, and listening to Him. Listening to Him, because there's going to be some pivots that are going to happen, right? Especially if this is not how you started it, but it's how you want to end it.
Yeah, I'd rather win at the end, even if I got a slow start, for sure. Yep.
For sure. We want all the trophies and all the medals in the Pindar house. That's just how we are.
We don't take ribbons here.
We don't. We don't.
No participation.
We should probably work on that. We don't even believe in that stuff. That's a whole nother conversation. So I am so appreciative of you guys hanging with us tonight. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, babe?
You know, thank you for everyone who supported my wife over the past few years. She really does work extremely hard, and she works me extremely hard to ensure that you know, she can produce these videos, put them out there. But she really has a heart for all of you. She thinks about you. She prays about you. She has spent, you not believe the late nights that have been spent with her and her team, trying to make sure that you get to have incredible experiences. Everything across the board. You have no idea what happens in the background. So I just want to say thank you y'all for supporting her. It means a lot to her. It means a lot to me because it makes my wife happy. And I appreciate those who are making my wife happy. So it's a delight. It is a delight to me that we can do these videos. She can put all this together, and I pray that y'all continue to share, continue to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And you know, we'll see you next year, Lord willing.
For sure. We will absolutely see you next year for number 10. So thanks again, girls, for hanging out with us. I hope that you gained something. I hope you had a good time. You took some good notes, had some good laughs. We always enjoy spending time with you, and Robbie's right. I absolutely love this opportunity that God has given me to connect with each of you. So on that note, if you have not heard, the tickets for Woman to Woman Combos Over Brunch are on sale right now. And he knows how excited I am. He's like, oh my God. I am so excited. It will have been, by the time we get together, it'll be 2 years since we've been together in person at brunch. Y'all, you want to get your tickets. They're going to sell out. They always do. But we have something really special planned for you. I'm taking a huge leap of faith with this brunch, and I don't want you to miss it because there's going to be a surprise for you there. But it is going to be everything and then some. So you can grab your tickets at petrapindar.com/events, or you can click the link right below in the description box. So those are available to you, and we do have group rates available for the very first time ever. And so if you're interested in that, email inquiries@petrapindar.com. And if you're interested in being a vendor or placing an ad in our publication or on our website, then also email inquiries@petrapindar.com. I'm so excited. I hope to see you guys on February 12th, 2022 for Woman to Woman Combos Over Brunch. And in the meantime, I think I'm going to go love on my husband a little bit. So, you ready, babe? Y'all have a good night. Bye.
Take care, everyone.